Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Thank you for tuning in to the Polished Beauty segment, where we explore beauty, brains, empowerment, and total wellness from the inside out. I'm your host today, and I'm always joined by our brilliant co-contributor and founder of the Polished Beauty podcast, Dr. Daisy Ayim. She's a triple board certified cosmetic surgeon and OBGYN who champions beauty, health, and purpose for modern women. Today, we're honored to welcome a woman who's not just treating breast cancer, she's transforming how we think about it. Dr. Jenn Simmons was once one of Philadelphia's top breast cancer surgeons, but after facing health challenges of her own, she shifted paths, becoming a pioneer, integrative oncologist who blends conventional medicine with holistic healing. She's the author of the best-selling book, The Smart Woman's Guide to Breast Cancer, host of the podcast Keeping Abreast with Dr. Jenn, and the founder of PerfeQTion Imaging, a radiation-free alternative to traditional breast screening. We all need that. Her mission: to support and educate the often forgotten woman and redefine survivorship through real healing, hormone balance, and prevention first. Today, she joins me to chat all about how she rewrote the rules of breast cancer and why she says that early detection isn't enough. Dr. Jenn, welcome to the show, superstar.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so delighted to be here and to share this time with two people who I know are like-minded and have the same goals that I have to change the world.
So let's get right to it. Dr. Jenn, what inspired your decision to walk away from surgery and embrace integrative oncology? And how did your personal health journey reshape your approach to treating breast cancer?
Well, there's nothing like getting your own diagnosis and facing those conventional paradigms to give you a whole new perspective. Because when I went from physician to patient and I was given the answers, which I gave to my patients all the time, when I asked, why did this happen? I got that vague, it's multifactorial, and there's nothing else you can do, and there's nothing you could have done to prevent it, and there's nothing that you can do to reverse it. You just have to have surgery and chemo and radiation. And while that answer was sufficient when I was giving it, it was not sufficient when I was getting it. And I actually went on my own personal health journey, not to cure my breast cancer patients, to cure me. Because I somehow got this voice, this download from the universe. I mean, I think it was God, but if you don't believe in God, call it whatever you want. But I got this download saying, there's something else, go find it.
I'm glad you share your personal journey that led to your amazing technology that you have. Traditional mammogram is something that we recommend to our patients. You have to start at 40 and go at it, and that's it. There's no alternative out there, but you have an amazing technology called PerfeQTion Imaging work. Can you elaborate on that, how it works, and how is it different from traditional mammography?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say that our reliance on mammogram has not increased survival, has not decreased the amount of treatment. So we're not saving lives and we're not saving breasts. And I think that that's a really important point to note up front. So, and it has nothing to do with prevention. It's all about early detection, and it's not even a good early detection tool. It will miss 40% of cancers in 40% of the population, which is the dense breasted population. And those arguably are the women that need it most. So in my opinion, and I share this opinion with many, many countries around the world, mammogram is an epic fail. I mean, we're using a test that causes cancer to screen for cancer. So I was so lucky to get introduced to the QT technology. It is ultrasound technology, but in a way that doesn't compare to what's being done now. So we use sound waves transmitted through a warm water bath to collect 200,000 times more data points than MRI, and it creates a true 3D reconstruction of the breast, without pain, without compression, without radiation. It was invented for and designed for women with dense breasts, women who have implants, all the women who are unserved or underserved by the current screening program.
This is mind-blowing. Why is early detection not enough?
The mammogram isn't early detection because by the time a mammogram picks something up, it's billions of cells. So what I use to screen for breast cancer is actually early detection because I'm using a test called the ARIA tears test. I don't know if you've heard of this test, but this test takes a sample of the fluid in your eye. You don't have to cry or poke your eye out or anything. It's a totally painless collection system. But it measures that fluid for two proteins, the S100A8 and S100A9 proteins. These proteins are actually, when they reach a critical level, they are actually predictive of the very early stages of developing breast cancer. So if you use this test to screen, the ARIA test, you can actually pick up breast cancer before it becomes a disease, before it even develops. And you can prevent a breast cancer diagnosis. So this is actually prevention because we are getting real-time information as to whether or not you are at risk for breast cancer. So if you take the ARIA test, which is a 5-minute at-home test, literally 5-minute at-home test, totally affordable, you can know if that test is negative, you're done. You don't even have to go for imaging. And if that test is clinically positive, you are at risk for breast cancer and you can do something about it. You can prevent breast cancer from even developing by reading my book, The Smart Woman's Guide to Breast Cancer, by joining my prevention program at Real Health MD. But you have the power to prevent a diagnosis. And this technology is here and it's available right now.
How do we order the ARIA test?
Yeah, it's just ARIA, AURIA.care. And if you use my code, Dr. Jenn 20, DRJENN 20, you get 20% off, making it a totally affordable test.
Wow. I want to know 2 questions. How often is this test need to be done for the audience listening? And is there any variation in testing?
Yeah, so there's no variation, but how often you do it depends on what you believe your inherent risks are. So if you are at increased risk, and increased risk means that you have family members that have had breast cancer, or you have one of the gene mutations that puts you at increased risk for breast cancer, I recommend those people do it every 6 months. Otherwise, if you're at average risk, just do it once a year. And know that if you have a clinically significant result and you do the things to get rid of the inflammation in your body, you can convert that to a normal result. This is how we actually prevent breast cancer going forward.
When should they start for the screening?
The company recommends you start screening at 30, although there's no reason why you couldn't do it earlier, but that is the recommendation of the company because breast cancer below 30 is still exceedingly rare.
Thank you so much. This is great information.
Pleasure.
But let's go back. Many breast cancer survivors are just left in the dark when it comes to hormone health, especially those told that hormone therapy is completely off the table. But research into bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is shifting that narrative, and it's something you speak passionately about. Why do you advocate for BHRT in breast cancer survivors, and what are the most common misconceptions women need to unlearn?
We have to remember that association isn't causation, and that there is no evidence that hormones cause breast cancer. In fact, breast cancer is much more a disease of hormone deficiency than it is of hormone excess. So we need to unlearn all of that really reductionist thinking that is only out there. That narrative is only out there to sell drugs. That's the only reason it's out there. And so when we talk about the breast cancer population and the people that are in survivorship, of which there are 4 million in this country alone, okay? And these women are told that they should be grateful to be alive, and they are grateful. But it is very hard to feel grateful when you can't think, you can't remember your words, you can't remember why you walked in the room, you're anxious, you're afraid, you're depressed, your hair is falling out, you can't sleep at night, you have palpitations, your whole body aches, you've gained weight, your body is unrecognizable, your breasts are deformed or absent, you have no libido, sex is unwanted and painful, you're leaking urine, you've either lost your relationship or your relationship is being horribly challenged. It is hard to feel grateful.
Oh my, yes, put it into perspective like that. Sounds like a field day. But that message, what you just said, is so important, especially for women who feel like they've lost a part of themselves post-treatment. I mean, hormones do, in fact, play a much bigger role in recovery than so many of us realize. So thank you for saying that.
That's exactly right. And this is how we are leaving most women after breast cancer treatment. So you know that the women listening to this who have had breast cancer are like, oh my God, she finally gets me.
Yeah.
But no one's talking about it. And the reasons no one's talking about it is because the pharmaceutical companies have created this narrative where they want to sell these drugs. But these drugs cause all of this. And they do it unnecessarily because when we look at the data, women who take hormone replacement and get breast cancer have better outcomes as compared to women who don't take hormone replacement and get breast cancer. And then when you look on the after side, women who have had breast cancer and take hormones do not die of breast cancer more than women who don't, do not have more recurrences than women who don't, and they have better lives. They have better, longer, richer, happier lives.
Now, thank you for demystifying those stigmas, by the way.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, the WHI study did so much harm in our society. The media took it and ran with it. Trying to unpack it is taking so much, and our education system, starting from residency, the different specialty, does a disservice to women in education and knowledge. So I am so happy social media is in place when we have experts like you that bring all of this in the forefront so we can debunk all those myths. Doc, I want to know, what's the message behind your book, The Smart Woman's Guide to Breast Cancer? It's phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, right now we talk about women making informed decisions, right? Only they're not even able to make informed decisions because they're not giving the information in order to make an informed decision. And I knew that I just wanted that to stop. I wanted women to have the opportunity to actually participate in their decision making, to participate in their health, because we know that health doesn't happen in a doctor's office or a radiation suite or an oncology suite or a surgical suite. Health happens at home with the things that you do every single day, and you have so much more power than you've been led to believe. And I just wanted women to step into their power. And so I wrote this book to give them that ability. Yes, you can learn about all the doctor speak. You can learn how to interpret your pathology report. You can learn about all of the treatments that you're going to be told that you need and the side effects and what they do and what they don't do, because they're being touted as much more than they are, and they're not warned of the long-term side effects of taking these drugs. For instance, if you are treated for breast cancer, you are 2 to 3 times more likely to die of heart disease than if you're not. Now, women are already exponentially more likely to die of heart disease than they are of breast cancer in every decade of their life past the age of 30. So how can we cure one disease and give them one that's worse without telling them, without informing them, without giving them the opportunity? And one of the major problems, and one of the reasons why my book is so important, is that we are overdiagnosing breast cancer. We are over-treating breast cancer for a large portion of the population, and we are actually accelerating the diseases that kill women. We're accelerating heart disease, we're accelerating brain disease, we're accelerating bone disease. So I think that we need to have a whole new perspective on how we diagnose, how we treat, how we reverse, and how we screen for breast cancer. And those are my platforms, and they're all outlined in my book. So my book is definitely about education. It's about disease reversal. It's about prevention. It's about building your health. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is building your health. Because when you build your health, disease goes away.
I think my
And to touch on something that you said earlier, that forgotten populace, the women that are in the shadows, there's major statistics on this. According to the Journal of Women's Health, nearly 1 in 2 women report feeling dismissed or not being taken seriously by their healthcare providers. Exactly what you just said. And the disconnect can be especially harmful when dealing with a breast cancer diagnosis. So after writing the book and after having been an advocate for your own health, what can women do to become stronger advocates for their own care, especially when they feel unheard in medical settings?
Yeah. I think that we really need to focus on being heard, on building a team that is a partnership. I think gone are the days of that paternalistic medicine where the doctor says and you do, because we have farmed our health out to people that don't have our health in their best interest. I'll give you an example. I am not trying to throw the medical oncology world under the bus. But please know that a good medical oncologist is someone that does their job. Their job is to give chemotherapy. Their job is to get you through chemotherapy without dying, right? So they are not thinking about where you're going to be in 5 years. If you get through that time with them, that's all they're concerned about. So here we are entrusting our health to a medical oncologist when the medical oncologist is looking back at you and saying, it doesn't matter what you eat. It doesn't matter what you drink. It doesn't matter how you move, right? Whatever you do, don't gain weight, don't lose weight. And they are giving not only bad advice, the absolute wrong advice, but they're actually increasing the likelihood that you're going to need more drugs later, need more support later, and have worse outcomes. And they're good doctors, well-intentioned doctors doing this. So we need to stop farming out our health to people who don't know. So if you go and talk to your medical oncologist, and all of this is outlined in my book, all of the questions that you're supposed to ask and the answers that you're supposed to get are there. If you go to your medical oncologist and say, what should I eat during chemo? And if they don't look back at you and say, you shouldn't be eating, you should be fasting, you need to go find another medical oncologist. And this is where our agency is. You need to be working with someone who is your partner. Those paternalistic relationships, they don't work anymore. You have to find someone who hears you. I know it's not easy, but the world is changing. It might not be changing quickly enough, but maybe go in with a copy of my book and ask your medical oncologist to read it. Tell them to take a day and just read my book. It will change the way that they look at what they do. And if they don't, move on. One of the biggest messages from my book is that we are all rushed to treatment. We're told you have to schedule surgery, you have to schedule chemotherapy, you have to get on the radiation schedule. We're rushed. And we're rushed because they don't want you to take the time. They don't want you to stop and think and say, is this really the right thing for me? Does this really make sense? They don't want you to take the time and be educated because they're afraid that you'll change your mind and they'll lose a customer, right? But the very best thing you can do for yourself is take time, take a pause, get educated, learn, and take the time to be introspective. Start to trust your intuition, and you will know what's right for you. You will get that same download that I got if you take some time and just look inside and ask the questions.
You know, Doc, it's one of the things that's very saddening. I'm sure you've experienced this in your practice, was diagnosing women with breast cancer in their 20s. I mean, the first time I diagnosed a patient in her late 20s, I sat back in my chair and I said, how is this possible? What is going on in our society, in our environment, in our food? And breast care or cancer care is just becoming earlier and earlier. So I want to know, What do you think about the role of emotional and energetic healing as it plays in cancer care?
I'm going to share a story with you because that piece, which is not part of our conventional paradigm at all, is so very important. I had a woman who was 39 years old, had a big job, totally stressful job, and she gets diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, comes to see me. We do all the things. We correct her metabolic health. Everything is turning around and she's looking great and the disease is reversing. And we couldn't quite get her past the finish line. And one day she told me about this story where her family actually owned a ski resort. And one day at the resort, she was sexually assaulted by 4 boys. And she told her mother about it. And because the boys were friends of the family, her mother didn't believe her. And she suffered her whole life with this trauma and carried it around with her. And it wasn't until she released that trauma to me on that day that things actually started to turn around for her. And I truly believe that that was the reason why she got metastatic breast cancer. We have to look at the whole person in front of us. Breast cancer is not happening because you have a bad breast. People don't have naughty breasts. Breast cancer is happening because there is an imbalance in the system. Breast cancer is a normal response to an abnormal environment, and we all have to become environmentalists. We all have to figure out what is influencing our environment. What is causing that internal shift in our chemistry, taking us from the chemistry of joy to the chemistry of stress? And we all need to know how to shift that back. Now, for some people, it's mold illness. And for some people, it's viruses. But for some people, it's a trauma that they've been suffering from for 20 years because no one has taken the time to unpack it. Now, there's fascinating work going on at places like Johns Hopkins, where they're using psilocybin, magic mushrooms. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I went on a 7-hour journey. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
They are using these guided journeys to help people to relive the trauma in a controlled environment with a facilitator and give it a different ending, give it a different meaning so that the trauma from 20 years ago doesn't continue to hurt you today.
Yeah, I mean, holistic care is really the future of medicine. It's unfortunate that allopathic medicine is so focused on this tunnel, like you mentioned earlier. And we're doing a disservice to ourselves as humankind in the care of patient because medicine is food. Food is medicine. And we have to look at what we're feeding our body, whether it's medicine or food or environment. It's multifactorial.
Yeah, and our emotional diet, right?
Yes.
So, Joshua Rosenthal, who runs the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which is a big health coaching program, he talks about this concept of primary food and secondary food. And everyone thinks the things that you put in your mouth are primary food, and that's what fuels you. But the truth is that what is far more meaningful is what is actually primary food is hugs and love and sunshine and all of the things that really fill your cup. Because like you can eat what you can eat. And please know, I don't advocate for eating junk food, but I also don't advocate for consuming a junk life. Like we have the ability to connect with one another and to live truly connected, meaningful lives. And when you do that, you are rewarded with health.
Yeah, absolutely. Community is the base of any society.
Yeah.
And when the community is broken down, that's when you see a lot of element that is manifesting in our society, especially the Western world. Community is so important.
It is. And, that's part and parcel what's wrong with the conventional medical model is that community is built on failure. The only way to get into conventional medicine is to fail. You either have to fail your blood work or fail your imaging test or something along those lines. And think about it. Like, we don't have an early intervention system. No one's going to their doctor and saying, Doc, I want to be as healthy as I can be. How do I do that? And even if they did, their doctor wouldn't have the answer because we're not trained to do that. I had 15 hours worth of training around nutrition my first year of medical school and then never again. And I have 15 years of higher education.
Yeah. And you're giving hours and you're giving 15 minutes. And don't forget, you're giving 15 minutes to see a patient if you're an employed physician and you don't have your own private practice. Yes. So not only do you not have the education, you don't have the time to even educate the patient if you were to have the education. Yes, the system is broken.
It's so true. Broken. The system is so broken. So,
the system is broken. Oh my goodness.
They just wait for you to fail. They just wait for you to fail. When you come in and your hemoglobin A1C, which is a measurement of your glucose, your blood sugar over a 3-month period of time, right? If it's 5.8 or 5.9, what do they tell you? Come back. Yeah. When it's over 6, we'll treat you for diabetes, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a horrible, horrible, broken system.
It is.
And all right, well, we are at the end, but I know Dr. Daisy has her last bonus question.
Yes. Okay. So, Dr. Jenn, I admire your accomplishment, and I think what you're doing is phenomenal. It's groundbreaking, especially in the mammogram world. So I want to know, what is the one bold thing in your life? It could be a journey, it could be a story, it could be a moment that has led you to be where you are today.
So I actually remember the very moment that I resigned from surgery, because I had already done my functional medicine training, but I thought that I could bring functional medicine into surgery. And I had a 19-year-old come into my office. She had a breast mass, but she also had MS. And she had primary progressive MS so bad that she was in a wheelchair because she couldn't walk the 30 feet from the elevator to my office. And I had just met Dr. Terry Walls. I don't know if you know Terry Walls, but she's a very famous Midwest physician who reversed her own MS through diet. So I had just met Terry Walls, and I was so excited, like a giddy school child, telling this 19-year-old and her mother in my office about how she can reverse her MS and, she can walk again and live a normal life. And after about a minute, she put her hand up in my face and she said, Doc, are you going to do my biopsy or not? And I was like, oh, yeah. Not everyone wants to help themselves. Not everyone wants to do the work. Some people just want to take the pill. Some people just want the procedure. And I get it. And that's okay. But that's not who I want to work with or for. And I resigned that day because I just knew that there were millions of women who wanted to take control of their health, who wanted to participate in their health, who wanted to avoid a diagnosis or reverse a diagnosis, who wanted to feel empowered and inspired. And I knew that I had to walk into that role and be their source of power and be their source of inspiration.
Wow. Well, we're out of time. Dr. Jenn, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your truth, and your heart with us today. I mean, you're living proof that medicine is evolving and that real healing is in fact possible. Thank you.
It sure is. Thank you so much for having me.
For our listeners, be sure to follow Dr. Jenn on Instagram at Dr. Jenn Simmons. Tune into her podcast, Keeping Abreast with Dr. Jenn, and learn more about her work at realhealthmd.com. And you can check out PerfeQTionImaging.com for the latest technologies on breast imaging. This is the Polished Beauty segment. I'm your host, Zen Sams, with our incredible co-contributor, Dr. Daisy Ayim, where beauty meets substance and self-care is the science. Until next time, stay curious, stay strong, and stay polished. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this. A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the Polished Beauty Podcast with Dr. Daisy Ayim. Hey, ambitious women, ready to shine on the inside and out? Tune in to the Polished Beauty Podcast, where we talk about business, beauty, brains, and body all in one spot. Meet Dr. Daisy Ayim, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon, pro-aging advocate, fitness enthusiast, and your go-to for real talk on leveling up every part of your life. The Polished Beauty Podcast is your dose of ambition meets empowerment. For more information, head to polishedbeautypodcast.com.